I think we're good. Awesome.
Cool.
Okay, so first thing I wanted to bring up was I hope you didn't feel like this was too, like, overwhelming.
No.
It was okay in terms of, like, number of questions, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Because that's something we've kind of been working through is it, you want it to be positive through the coaching cycle, and we want that reflection piece. The big thing is throughout the coaching cycle, though, I feel like that's what it is. It's reflection the whole time.
Right.
Right, you do something, we reflect on it,
Yep.
you do something, we reflect on it.
Yep.
So, okay, that's one thing I wanted to ask, though, is if you felt it was too, like, oh man, this is too much time to dedicate to it, or that kind of thing, so.
Not at all.
Okay, awesome. Do you want to just kind of walk me through, so I read your responses, thank you so much for your feedback, it was great. You want to just kind of walk me through what you wrote and kind of what you were thinking as
Yeah.
you went through?
So, I guess what worked well during the collaboration and coaching cycle was the accountability. I always feel like I do a really good job, but it's nice to like have someone like looking and then like that reassurance of yes,
Right.
it is working.
Yeah.
And it was nice having deadlines, just so I know like this needed to be done. My formative assessment needed to be done by Tuesday, so we could reflect on Wednesday.
Right.
It made me more intentional about like my planning.
Right.
I felt. So.
Well, and I feel like as teachers, I mean, we always use discretion as to, okay, if we need to push something back or move something forward. But sometimes we've all had those days too where it's like, I just didn't get that done. We're going to have to push it back to
Right.
a day. And I feel like when we work together, it's a lot easier to be like,
Right.
no, we said we were going to do this on this day, and my kids are ready, so we're going to make sure it happens. Right.
Yep. So the challenges are missed opportunities, and I guess my main thing here was just to, if I would do it again, I would have started earlier,
Yep.
so we really could have planned, then started the unit, and then, because we kind of started like the day that
Right,
I
as the
started.
unit was starting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
from a time standpoint, there were times where it was like, oh, I'm not ready to move on, or man, I've spent like 4 days on this, but we don't have our meeting scheduled till Monday.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so just starting before the unit, getting everything planned out, and then once the unit, I think it would
Yep.
make for a better timeline. But
Yep.
that was the only thing that I would change. How did I feel? How do you feel? Our collaboration positively benefited students. So just went through the data here, and in the beginning I had 4 students who were proficient in our second hour class, 14 students were approaching proficiency, and 3 students were in need of development. After the summative, I now have 4 students who scored mastery, 8 students who are proficient, and 9 students who are approaching proficiency. So even though the number went from 8 to 9 of total non-proficient students,
Right.
4 of those were 1s in
Right.
the beginning, and actually 2 of those 4 jumped
Jump
to
to
proficient.
approaching. Oh, to proficient.
Like,
Okay.
to proficiency, so they jumped the whole category. And then, let's see, the skill of identifying a testable question, writing an investigation, carrying out an investigation, and reflecting on what you did is really complex. So there were 5 different scored categories, and only 1 student still needs work on more than 1 category.
So you're looking at being able, okay, so I'm just going to summarize this back to you. So basically what you're looking at is you've identified now that if there is a student that's not proficient, specifically what area that's in.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
not just,
Yep.
oh, you're struggling in conducting an investigation. I can pinpoint based on what were our topics, variables, hypotheses,
procedure, variables, data,
And graphing,
then,
right?
Yep, and
Yeah.
then the reflection.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so of those, I now know like very individualized. What skill do I need to work on before we spiral back to this
Right.
conduct an investigation?
Right.
And then of those 9 students who were not proficient, I think I said 4 of those non-proficient, after a few like a quick fix or just a minor error or correction, I think they will be proficient. So that would leave me with 5 non-proficient.
Which, the ones that were in the need developing, the 1 category, that went to
0.
correct?
So there
So-
were 0 in the needs development.
That's so awesome. I mean, think about that. Every one of your kids made growth.
Right, and some made,
Huge growth.
I didn't have anybody go from a 2 to a 4.
Right.
So those 4 students that were proficient in the beginning were all masters at the end, which was cool to see.
Yeah, that they could take it and apply it,
And they didn't
right.
stay at proficiency,
Right.
they did add.
Right.
So every student showed growth of some kind.
Good.
When going through their assessment, so that was good.
Good. Do you want me to talk about my stuff?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll just read what I said. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but I just said, working with Justin really pushed me to look at content skills as separate entities. So the best way I could describe it was, I think, you know, when I went through a science classroom, it was traditionally you were working on science content. And I feel like working with you really pushed me to think of ways to help organize information with a skill like conducting investigation. But then also I had to learn the content, like the force and motion. And I found myself when I would visit with kids in the hallway, I'd be like, hey, what did you put on your PhET simulation? Are you done yet? And they'd be like, yeah, I chose this one. Oh, how did this push and pull work? Or how did like I could have conversations with kids outside of the room. So it was twofold. I felt like curriculum-wise, the way we were constructing the unit or the way you had planned it, it really forced me to think of it as separate things, but how can we relate them together? How can we bring it back for students' full picture? And I thought it helped me build relationships with some kids that I don't have in class anymore. And I also felt like it forced me to reflect on, working with you forced me to reflect on what I would feel like as a student. So, for example, if I'm a student, I remember when we talked about your summative assessment. If I'm a student taking the summative assessment, and I'm a kid who's struggling, you know, we talked about chunking it. And breaking it up. Or those types of things. Like, it made me have to separate myself from a teacher perspective and think, like, okay, how can we be advocates for students?
How a student perceives this.
Yeah, for sure. Challenges, it's so funny that you brought that up because I said the same thing, and I said it in a different way, but I think we're saying the same thing. Challenges and missed opportunities. I said I felt like the challenges for me was that you are so well organized, and I know that sounds weird that would be a challenge for me. It's a really positive thing, but I also, like, you had this beautiful unit planned out, and I didn't want to mess up your plans or adjust. And so I think we're saying the same thing, is that really for ultimate benefit, like, we go, you know, next time we do it again, get in contact 3 to 4 weeks before the unit and think about meeting ahead of time and creating a plan together, and then we can still adjust as we go if we need to, but don't you think meeting earlier and trying to plan that out, because I felt so bad when I read that. I thought, oh, Justin was like waiting on me, and we didn't have our meetings, but
it wasn't that. There was just the times where it's like, oh, we should have planned that before. I should be able to move on here, and just kind of dragging my feet. But it was not a big deal. It obviously what we did.
It worked. Yeah.
It was always good to see.
Next steps. This is kind of where I'm thinking. You tell me, and we had just had a little conversation about this earlier. But I just said I'd love to see if Justin be willing to share out his experiences with staff, both obviously positive things, but then also challenges that we had too. I think that it's good for people to see both sides of it and kind of where we fall. And I think down the road it'd be really fun, maybe even like when you spiral back to this, wouldn't it be fun to do a coaching cycle again, like when you spiral back to it? Because it's the same, it's different content, but the same standard, your skill. That'd be awesome. And I just said, I thought overall it was a really good experience for me to be able to bring some perspective. Like, I feel like now when I go into other coaching cycles, I can say, you know what, we've been through a couple and it really works best if we meet sooner rather than as the unit is starting, just to be able to pre-plan and have those conversations earlier.
Yeah, because I almost foresee it as like, if someone in second try, like next year, wants to do a coaching cycle, the end of first try should almost be like the pre-planning.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's how I see it. So like you would pre-plan and try one, and then when you get to it and try two, you're all, like, you've thought about how you're going to formatively assess. Standard is fully unwrapped.
Right.
And that might just be like a checkpoint that like the teacher brings to you. These are all the things that are done.
Right.
Okay, when we get to the unit, we're fully ready.
Right.
And then we can jump in.
We can adjust as we go.
I think that would be a good idea. You'd almost have a pre-planning before the coaching cycle would actually.
Right. And I think it's just reaffirmed for me that, this was the very first coaching cycle we had done. And I think it just reaffirmed for me that we can't put it in a box. Like, it's going to look a little bit, even though the game plan says do this, 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 and this, we're not working in a game plan, we're working with kids. And so when you work with kids, you just kind of have to be ready for things to change. So I just appreciated that about you, being able to be patient and being able to be flexible with those types of things. So awesome. All right. You want to hit the button? Sweet.